Okay. Are we live? Hopefully we are live. Now we're live. Excellent. Do you know, I hate Facebook since they changed it. Probably gonna get banned for saying something like that. But there we go. Such is life. Now then, let's do it so that we can see comments. Good. Right then. So, a very, very happy Monday to you all. I owed you a live on here for a little while, and I thought today was the day. So in this one, what does this mean? Sorry, I've got a message on the screen. Okay, it's asking me to close some windows, so just bear with me a second, and we're going to do that. No. Right. And then we'll see if that helps. Right, let's try again, everybody. How are we doing? Right, are we there? So, we are live now. Goodness me, that took some doing, didn't it? Right, and I can actually see the screen and we're all good. Love technology. I hope that this is behaving itself. What you can't see is that I've been set up for Reiki in here today. And I've got another Reiki client in a minute. And that tends to blow my internet a little bit. So weird stuff happens when we do Reiki in here. So hopefully if you can see me, drop me a comment and let me know. Hopefully the video is behaving itself. This live is well overdue. Hi Lynne, hello, I'm glad you can see me, my lovely. This live is well overdue and was prompted by a comment that was left on Friday's video. Somebody has dropped me a message and said that they are going back to the office 1 day a week from March after 2 years of working at home. And she's feeling quite anxious about doing it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the train journeys. We're going to talk about the anxiety around the number of people that she's coming across, just getting back into the work environment again, right? Like, you know, that's kind of, it's 2 years is a long time is my first thing. And just generally kind of being out of the house. And it's funny because I felt so compelled to respond to this one because it's lovely to kind of get on here and have something specifically to answer rather than me just wittering away. But over Christmas and New Year, anybody who follows here will know that kind of we were all isolating because we all had COVID and all of that sort of stuff. And that was for 2 weeks. And what I can say is, like, we were climbing the walls to get back out and test negative, right? But what I can say is that it felt really, really weird to get back out in the world again. Like, when we could, it was surreal. It was really, really odd. So I hear what you're saying. This is going to feel odd after 2 years, but let me give you some hints and tips. So for anybody just joining, I am answering a specific query of somebody who watches this page. Thank you. I still love that people watch this page. And I'm talking about going back to the office after 2 years of working from home and the anxiety that that's causing. If you're watching, drop me a name check, let me know. If you also have things that you would like me to specifically answer, drop a comment and I will get back on here and I'll kind of do lives. It's always easier doing that than me having to think about what it is that you might want me to talk about. Like, ask me specific things and I will get on here and I will answer them. It makes my job easier. So, the first thing that I'm going to say is what I would like you to do if you are in the position that Lynne was in and you're going back to work after 2 years of working from home. Whether that's 1 day in the office or whether it's 5, right? Or any other combination of what that might look like. What I would like you to do is I'd like you to get on YouTube and I'd like you to go back and watch again the announcement from March the 23rd, 2020. I'm sure that's the date. When Boris came on TV and told us we all had to stay at home. Because, and the reason I'm saying do that is, like, 2 years is a long time, right? But I think we're all at risk of forgetting here how scared we actually had to be in order to have us, like, toe the line, right? And actually stay at home. And it's incredible when you go back and watch that, because I think it brings into perspective kind of the magnitude of it. And the reason that I'm saying do it is because, A, you have to remember where we're all coming from for this stuff. But there's also a thing when I work with people and, you know, they kind of say, like, I shouldn't be anxious about this, right? I used to get the train all the time. I used to go into the office all of the time. Why now is it such an issue? And I think part of the reason it's such an issue is because we've not done it for so long, but, like, we had to be frightened of going out. You know, we had to be worried in order for us to stay at home. And it's quite remarkable when you go back and look again at that Boris announcement. So if you haven't done it, Lynne, hop back on after this, hop yourself on YouTube, and you will be amazed. When I went back and looked at it, and it was for something completely unrelated about a year ago, I actually couldn't quite believe what it was like. I can only liken it to, you know, kind of hearing Chamberlain kind of come on in 1939 and kind of announcing the Second World War. I mean, this is big stuff that we've all been through, right? Whatever your experience of the pandemic, it's big stuff. And so I kind of want you to let yourself off the hook a little bit. It's okay, right? Like, it's okay that this feels weird. And so we all went through that experience. You've made home work kind of for 2 years, and it is gonna feel different. And you can't beat yourself up about something that pre-pandemic you might not have thought twice about. Just accept that it will feel a bit strange and be all right with that, right? Like, we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect with it, to feel all right with it, to kind of not be anxious about stuff because that's a bad thing. Like, sometimes feeling that anxiety is natural because of where we've come from. And so take that Boris announcement, take the context of the fact that you've been working at home kind of for 2 years, right? And I want you to start and be a bit nicer to yourself. I'm hoping the comments are coming through. If you are watching, drop me a name check, let me know, so that I know that they're there and I'm not missing things kind of on this new Facebook format. So that's the first thing. The other thing then that I wanted to talk about is that feeling of anxiety and kind of how that builds. And what Lynne was talking about was that she'd kind of gone and tried it, got through it, but it hadn't felt great. And so the other thing that I want to do kind of on here is talk about this thing that I always say is that you can't possibly be relaxed and anxious at the same time. It's absolutely impossible. I'm going to say it again because it's so important. You can't possibly be relaxed and anxious at the same time. So if you want to take some control back, if you want to lower those feelings of anxiety, the thing to do is to practice the relaxation stuff. And Amanda, hello Amanda, my lovely. I'm listening. I have been demanded to go back to work full time with only being notified last Friday. Been notified Friday by Wednesday after 2 years of working from home. Okay, so Amanda's having to go back as well with really little notice, again after 2 years of working from home. When I was in the office, I have a colleague that makes work not very pleasant for me. Amanda, I'm going to answer that bit as well kind of in a minute for you, but this is all relevant to you. So everything I've spoken about just giving yourself a bit of time, and when you've not had much notice that this is coming up as well, like you get the shock factor, you've got to kind of pace yourself through this stuff. 2 years is a long time. You know, my daughter's 6, for heaven's sake. A third of her life, like, we've had COVID kind of around us, you know? It's a long time. But back to this idea of you can't possibly be anxious and relaxed at the same time is so true. So to Lynne's original point, kind of if you're getting the train in, you might find that if you've got kind of some earphones kind of on your phone, like I would be putting on some music that I like. You know, like everybody does it on a train now anyway, right? Like kind of they're not the sociable places that they once were, trains. Everybody sits on their phone or kind of with headphones in. So I would be doing that. I would be putting on some music that I like just quietly, just to kind of chill me down. Distraction is also key as well. So no work stuff on the way in, no kind of like if you're getting public transport and you're not responsible for the drive or the kind of the transport bit, get yourself a magazine, get yourself a book or something. Put yourself in a place where distraction is key. And if you are in the car and you're driving in, Amanda, I don't know whether you're kind of back and you've got the commute, you're driving or walking or whatever, or whether you're training as well. But if you're in the car, put on some of your favourite music. Like I very rarely will kind of faff around with the radio unless I particularly feel like it, because I want to be in control of the mood music that I'm setting kind of in the car. And that makes a difference as well, right? So I tell a story which is so true. In the days when I had a corporate job that I hated, I kind of like my Friday night song, I'm dating this now, my Friday night song became the Scissor Sisters' I Don't Feel Like Dancing. And whenever I hear that song, I associate it now with kind of Friday night and just that feeling of relief kind of coming home from work kind of on a Friday. Music and those things kind of are so powerful. You know, kind of like our senses are so powerful that we may as well use them. So nice distracting music, driving the skill run, then work. Okay, so if the kids don't want the music on, you do it kind of after you've dropped them off, Amanda, right? But stuff that makes you feel good, stuff that just gets you know those tunes where it's like you can be driving along or kind of you hear them and you just instantly feel kind of uplifted. That's really important. Back to Lynne's original point as well. So you can't possibly be anxious and relaxed at the same time. Distraction is key. So we're loving magazines, we're loving a book, we're loving that music kind of idea kind of in there. And what was I going to say? And so all of that stuff, right? Kind of keep it light, no work stuff, no kind of like just keep it light and keep it easy. Thing about the train specifically, and I know Lynne, you've mentioned around kind of the number of people and how busy the trains were. You've got to remember that all of this has moved on with COVID, right? And again, if you think about the public transport thing, we had to be frightened. Like we had to be frightened of it in order to behave, in order to wear the masks, in order to kind of stay at home and whatever it is that we've been asked to do. We were made to feel worried and we were made to feel concerned. When you were on the train, Lynne, this is the same train that you were on kind of before, and it will feel okay again. There's also nothing wrong, you know, if there's kind of like to just give yourself some personal space. Find yourself somewhere on that train where you feel like you're not being kind of overcrowded, right? If that means kind of going and, you know, sort of standing kind of somewhere else or kind of however it is, you know, if it's not bunched in kind of sat with people, it's okay, right? But do what you feel most comfortable with in that space. The thing about then being back in the office, and Amanda, this will apply to you, and Lynne equally, it is a different environment. And one of the things that really kind of has struck me is, and it came after the first lockdown, and I think this has only just got stronger really, is when we get out of the way of doing stuff, we kind of forget what it's like, right? So just that thing about having a conversation kind of by a water cooler or kind of while you're waiting for the kettle to boil, or kind of what it feels like to have people around, even the noise levels will be different than kind of working at home. Just got to pace yourself through, and that can take a little bit of time to get used to. But again, this is about not being so hard on yourself. And also, there's nothing wrong in, you're not moaning, you're not complaining, there isn't anything wrong in kind of signaling to somebody, whether it's your boss, whether it's a work colleague that you trust, like this feels weird being back. You know, kind of like, And you don't have to kind of open your heart out, but sometimes just by saying it out loud to somebody, you know, kind of, it could be that that other person is feeling exactly the same way, and it opens up a conversation about, actually, do you know what, yeah, this does feel bizarre. Because my bet would be you ain't going to be the only person. I mean, look at what's happened kind of today. I've come on to answer Lynne's question. Amanda, bless you, come straight on. Happened to have seen this. And we're 3:30 in the afternoon, right? So kind of, you guys will not be the only people that this is happening to. I'm seeing it here kind of in the practice room. And you just have to pace yourself through some stuff. The other thing that I love then is, there's a couple more things that I want to share. So, and then Amanda, I'm going to ask you specifically about that colleague as well. First thing for me is when you are feeling anxious, it can help to just ground yourself, right? So to have your feet flat on the floor. Hey Adam, hello. Have your feet flat on the floor, and to just feel stable and grounded. And you can do it so that your feet feel as though they're just kind of really grounded to the floor. And you can just slow everything down a little bit, because the interesting thing that happens, of course, is anxiety happens at speed. So as you slow things down and you allow yourself to feel a little bit more grounded, like, that's going to help, okay? I really need to make notes of the stuff that's coming in my head, because I'm kind of losing it. But that really will just help to just kind of break it down. The other thing as well is, you know, kind of like when you're at work and those sorts of things, I have this conversation kind of a lot, whereby like we all sort of feel kind of as though we're sort of bound to our desks a little bit. Breaks are really, really important. If you've been sat in the same seat for more than an hour, you need to get up and you need to move around. And if you're in the sort of job where you have like really long conference calls or something like that, like you need to break that. You need to be moving around. And you know, kind of like, I remember, I know this sounds ridiculous, but I remember corporate jobs where I would just take myself off to the loo for 5 minutes for a bit of space, quite frankly. And so fresh air is brilliant when you're in the office. If you can stick your head out of the door for 5 minutes, that's great. If you can't, get up, make a drink, move around a little bit. Kind of, you know, like have that regularity. Don't have it where you're just kind of like sat, you know. Lynne, we're socially distanced in the office, which is good. On the trains, it's a free-for-all and hardly anyone's wearing masks now. Isn't it interesting? So, I think you can only make a personal choice about masks. And whatever you believe, whether you believe that they've done the right thing, kind of lifting it, or kind of we should all have a personal choice, or we shouldn't be wearing them, or we should, all you can do is what you feel comfortable with yourself. And the thing is about this is we all survived without masks before. But for me, Lynne, right, this is linked to that initial kind of announcement and how we've been conditioned to feel fear. Let me say that again, because it's really important. We have been conditioned to feel fear. And we can either feel relaxation, kind of feel all right, or the fear. It's time to reject the fear, right? The anxiety, you can sit alongside and allow yourself to kind of go, do you know what, this doesn't feel comfortable yet, and that's okay. Fear is a very, very different thing. Don't allow yourself to feel that fear. I want to answer Amanda's question as well. So she said, when I was in the office, I have a colleague that makes work not very pleasant for me. We've all had them, right? We've all had them. I've just had a client session with someone where I have kind of said, do you know what, imagine there's a protective bubble around you. Nobody else can see this clear perspex protective bubble, only you. Now here's the trick with it, right? You can choose what you let in, and anything that you don't want, you have bounced off and away the surface of that bubble. And it's so powerful. I mean, we do it under hypnosis here, but it is so powerful if you can just use that imagery. Because the interesting thing about that, Amanda, right, is like you've got to take what you can control and what you can't control. It's my two buckets theory. So a bunch of stuff you can control, a bunch of stuff you can't control. The stuff that you can't control, like the fact that that colleague is there and not being very nice, you can't do much about. The bucket of stuff that you can control is absolutely how you react to it, what you do with it, and where you allow that to go. And so whether it's my bubble and you allow it to just kind of bounce off and away. The other one that I love is like, it's not me, it's them, right? Like kind of, because we tend to take things personally. We think it's about us. We kind of, you know, it becomes personal about us. Actually, you turn it outwards, it's about them, right? Like that colleague who's not making work very pleasant, it's about them, Amanda, right? It's not about you. And so as much as possible, like if you can, give them a wide berth, but just make a conscious decision with yourself about how much you allow yourself to be triggered by that person and how they behave. And you know, kind of like sometimes you do just want to get really cross about something and be triggered about something, and it actually does us good. But you kind of are, most of the time, like just make a pact with yourself that you're not going to take that negative energy on board. And you know, ultimately you are there to do a job which pays the bills, and like as much as possible, just out of my way, like out of my way as much as you can. And there we go. So quick roundup then. I want you to go back, look at that March the 23rd announcement. We were all made to be frightened. You will be stunned if you haven't watched it for a while. It's incredible when you go back. Don't sweat the thing about like pre-pandemic, I'd have been okay with this. Like, why am I now suddenly in this anxious place? Because I'd have been all right with the train, or I'd have been all right going into the office. 2 years, people. 2 years. Like, it's a long time. So give yourself a bit of a break, right? Now then, it's okay to sit with a little bit of worry. I kind of call anxiety, kind of worry anxiety. It's a really similar thing for me. It's okay to sit with a little bit of worry. The fear bit, though, I would be far less comfortable kind of sat with. Like, don't be frightened. You can allow yourself to be a bit worried, a bit concerned, have it feel a bit odd, and that's fine, and it will come back, right? Like 2 years is a long time. And just go with it. Then distraction is key. You can't possibly be relaxed and anxious at the same time. So we love the kind of the happy music in the car or on the earphones, kind of if you're on the train. We love a book, a magazine if you're not driving. And the power of those senses is kind of like how that works, right? Like, it's brilliant. It really, really works, this stuff. If you're feeling particularly anxious, allow yourself to be grounded, feel your feet on the floor, and allow yourself just to center yourself again, right? And you can also say to yourself as well, like in the moment, like, I'm okay right now. Like, I'm okay right now. Okay? And that's fine. And then when you get into the office, lots of little breaks, right? Lots of kind of just pacing yourself through. Fresh air is brilliant if you can get it. If you can't, like I say, like I would nip to the loo or make a coffee or kind of do whatever. Break it up. And then don't allow yourself to be triggered. Lynne, I'll go back and watch the announcement. I need to lose this hermit-like behaviour. Lynne, my lovely, we were made to, right? Like, we were made to do it. Our brains like patterns and habits and routine, and we all had to get used to doing that. So go easy on yourself. And all of this stuff will work. There we go. Right. Amanda, you're so welcome, my lovely. You are so welcome. I'm so glad I got on. For anybody who is watching, Lynne, Amanda, let me know how you go. Keep me posted. For anybody who is watching, if there is something specific that you would like me to answer, then I am more than happy to do so. It makes these lives easier for me, because it means I don't have to think about what I'm talking about. It's just there, right? Like it is kind of with clients. I am more than happy to do that at any time. You can DM me, you can put a comment on a video and tag me into it. You'll find me on Instagram, you'll find me on Facebook under Ingledew Therapy. Give us a like, give us a follow. Lynne, you are very welcome, my lovely. Yeah, Amanda, Lynne, yeah, like, you're not alone, both of you, right? You are really not alone. I'm sending you all lots and lots of love, and I will be back here very, very soon. Take care, guys.